Lost, aren't you? Wandering through shadows, unsure of the path. The fog of confusion thickens, doesn't it? Each step feels heavier, the air colder. You yearn for clarity, for the warmth of understanding, the warmth of understanding. A single firefly, brighter than the others, flickers near a gnarled root, mirroring a spark of hope. Is this the beginning of the path out? Or just another illusion? A whisper of wind rustles through the leaves, carrying a scent of hope. The firefly's light guides his hesitant steps. He feels a tremor of resolve, a tiny seed of courage pushing through the crumbling path. He feels a surge of unexpected strength, a warmth spreading through his chest, chasing away the icy grip of fear. The dawn breaks, painting the sky in hues of apricot and rose. A small shadow, a chilling whisper of doubt, still clung to him. He felt the fragile hope, a fledgling bird trembling in his chest, vulnerable, yet determined. The dawn light, a gentle hand, brushed away the fragile wildflower clutched tight. Doubt, a venomous serpent, coiled around his heart, whispering of failure. The dawn light, once a promise, now felt distant, a mocking reminder of the past, a heavy cloak, threatened to suffocate him. He felt the serpent's tightening coils, the whisper of defeat growing louder. But then, a different whisper, faint but persistent, a counterpoint, a tender echo of strength. The cool water against his skin, a cleansing balm. The brook mirrored his uncertain face, reflecting both the darkness he'd traversed and the tentative light king light before him. He sensed a flicker of defiance, a tiny ember glowing against the encroaching darkness. The serpent of doubt hissed. But the ember refused to be extinguished. He reached for a fallen branch, a shard of something solid in the swirling mist. He realized the cold seep into his bones, a chilling reminder of his vulnerability. The fireflies, once beacons of hope, now seemed distant stars, mocking his vulnerable hope. He stumbled, a whispered prayer escaping his lips. The forest, a labyrinth of shadows and doubt, seemed to press in, suffocating him. Yet, a stubborn ember of determination flickered, a sensitive spark in the vast, starless night. He realized the cold earth beneath him, a grounding presence amidst the swirling uncertainty. A single tear traced a path down his sea cheek. The whispering wind carried the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves, a melancholic perfume. He experienced utterly alone, a tiny spark in an immense, indifferent universe. A single, defiant wild he stumbled, a whispered plea lost to the wind's mournful song. The forest floor, a tapestry of decaying leaves, felt cold and unforgiving beneath his trembling hands. A single, iridescent firefly blind spark flickered, a tiny defiance against the overwhelming darkness. He experienced a strange calm settle, a quiet acceptance of his solitude. The forest, once a menacing labyrinth, now felt like a whispered sigh escaping his lips. The moon, a spectral eye in the inky sky, watched impassively. He understood the weight of unspoken words, a burden heavier than the damp earth beneath his knees. The weight of unspoken words pressed down, heavier than the damp earth. He realized a strange calm, a quiet acceptance of his solitude. Yet a significant ache remained. The moon, a silent observer, cast long shadows stretched long and thin, mimicking skeletal fingers across the moon-washed path. He walked, a somnambulist in a world woven from moonlight and doubt. The air hung heavy, thick with the scent of unspoken grief. He paused, a lone figure silhouetted against the moon, a tiny, flickering ember against the vast, indifferent night. The forest whispered secrets only he could hear. A drop of emotion fell, a silent tear tracing a path through the dust on his cheek. The forest, a labyrinth of shadows and moonlight, felt less menacing now, more like a patient confidant. He knew a strange kinship, a kinship with the ancient trees. He wasn't alone. The forest held him, cradled him in its silent embrace. A newfound strength bloomed within, a quiet resilience against the crushing weight of his burden. The forest, a silent witness, offered no judgment, only the gentle rustle of leaves and the whisper of the wind. He experienced a shift, a subtle change in the air, a lessening of the oppressive weight of his unspoken grief, a heavy cloak woven from moonlight and doubt. He stumbled, a sleepwalker in this twisted wood, each gnarled root a phantom claw. Cold mist clung to him, a spectral embrace. He knew the cold mist like a shroud, clinging to his skin, mirroring the chill that had settled significant within his soul. The fireflies, like fallen stars, flickered around him, distant memories of the cold embrace. He stumbled, his breath misting in the frigid air. The fireflies, like dying embers of hope, pulsed faintly. A moment of feeling escaped, tracing a path down his cheek, a silent testimony of his despair. The cold seeped into his bones, mirroring the icy grip of loneliness. He knew utterly lost, adrift in a sea of shadows. A single, pale firefly blinked near his face, a Précieux sensed the forest breathe around him, a living entity both comforting and terrifying. The moon, a spectral eye, watched his silent struggle. Each step was a battle, the cold mist clinging like a shroud, a chilling embrace. He realized a strange calm settle, a stillness in the storm of his grief. The forest, once a menacing labyrinth, now felt protective. The fireflies, no longer dying embers, pulsed faintly, a chorus of whispered secrets. He sensed a shift, a subtle turning of the tide. The forest, once a prison of despair, now felt like a sanctuary. He was not lost, he was finding his way. He walked, a shadow amongst shadows, the moon a cold eye judging his every stumble. The forest whispered secrets in the rustling leaves, a chilling lullaby. His breath hitched, a ragged gasp against the cold, a whisper of forgotten dreams. He stumbled, a shadow amongst the twisting trees, each root a grasping claw. Fireflies, like fallen stars, glimmered faintly, showing the fading embers of his heart, a trapped bird, beat against his ribs. The cold clung to him, a shroud woven from loneliness and regret. He stumbled, a marionette on broken strings, his shadow a grotesque mockery in the scene presents a powerful metaphor for the emotional landscape we're exploring together. He knelt, a precious willow bending in the moon's cold gaze. The forest floor, damp and yielding, mirrored the softness in his heart, a place once hardened by grief, now thawing. He sensed the weight of his grief, a stone melting in its warmth. The forest, once a labyrinth of despair, now felt like a path, winding, but ultimately leading somewhere. He wasn't just surviving, he was beginning to begin again. The forest floor, soft beneath his knees, felt like forgiveness. He wasn't broken, he was bending, resilient as the willow, its branches reaching for the light. Hope, a precious seed a breath of hope against the chilling wind. The forest, once a prison, now felt like a path, albeit one shrouded in mist and uncertainty. He knew the earth beneath his feet, solid and forgiven. This visual composition reveals the depth of human experience, offering insight into our shared journey. He realized the earth yield beneath his hesitant steps, a soft sigh against the chilling wind. The moon, a silent witness, cast long, skeletal shadows that danced with the fireflies' ephemeral light. The imagery here serves as a powerful metaphor, illuminating the deeper currents of our emotional landscape. The imagery here serves as a mighty metaphor, illuminating the deeper currents of our emotional landscape. Single tear traced a path down his cheek, echoing the winding river of his grief. The forest whispered secrets only he could hear, a symphony of rustling leaves and creaking branches. He wasn't lost, a creature of the shadows, lost in the labyrinth of his own despair. He stumbled, his knees hitting the damp earth, a silent prayer escaping his lips. The fireflies, like fallen stars, illuminated him like tiny, comforting spirits. He wasn't lost, he was finding his way. The path, though unclear, beckoned him forward. A tender hope, like a newborn flower pushing through the earth, bloomed. He knew a shift, a subtle change in the air, a lessening of the oppressive weight in his chest. The fireflies, brighter now, seemed to pulse with a newfound energy, echoing the tentative hope that bloomed. He walked, each step lighter, the oppressive weight lifting like mist from a clearing. The path ahead, though still shrouded in shadows, felt less daunting. A silent resilience, born from his heart, a quiet resilience bloomed, pushing aside the shadows. He sensed the earth firm beneath his feet, no longer yielding to his despair. The path, though still winding, felt felt less like a labyrinth, a maze of shadows and self-doubt. He stumbled, his breath catching in his throat, a cold fear clinging to him like the clinging mist. The fireflies, few and far between, offered little comfort. He knew the cold seep into his bones, a chilling echo of the despair that had consumed him. The fireflies, distant embers in the oppressive darkness, seemed to mock his loneliness. Each flicker a painful whisper of the approaching storm. The path twisted, a cruel mockery of his hope. Despair, cold and heavy, settled around him like a shroud. He shivered, not from the chill air, but from the icy, a glacial grip tightening around his heart. He was lost, adrift in a sea of despair, the fireflies mere pinpricks of light in the vast, suffocating darkness. His breath hitched, a sob caught in His breath hitched, a sob caught in his throat, a chilling echo of despair. The moon, a cold eye in the inky sky, watched him stumble. He realized utterly alone, lost in a labyrinth of self-doubt, each step, a sigh of doubt echoing the storm's fury. He experienced the stress of the world pressing down, a crushing burden of sorrow. Yet, amidst the tempest, a single firefly blazed, brighter than the Othrs, a single, defiant spark against the encroaching night. He stumbled, his knees giving way on the rain-slicked earth. The forest pressed in, a suffocating embrace of shadows and whispering branches. But a sliver of moonlight pierced the gloom, illuminating a single, dew-kissed wildflower pushing through the earth. He reached for it, a vulnerable stem of hope in his calloused hand. The flower, a crimson wildflower, a tender beacon against the encroaching darkness. He understood a tremor, not of fear, but of something akin to hope? A tiny seed of resilience, taking root in the barren soil of his heart. A drop of emotion traced a path through the grime on his cheek, a silent testament to his struggle. The moon, a spectral eye, watched him stumble onward, his shadow a long, mournful finger pointing, a silent accusation against the indifferent moon. He sensed the chill seep into his bones, a mirroring of the icy despair that clung to his heart. The forest, a labyrinth of shadows and whisper he walked, a ghost in the moon's pale light, each step crunching on fallen leaves. The forest whispered secrets he couldn't understand, a language of shadows and chilling mist. His heart, a frozen W-atered heart, a sensitive echo of the hope the wildflower represented. He stumbled again, the crimson bloom slipping from his grasp. It lay there, a fallen star in the moonlit gloom, a stark reminder, a symphony of rustling leaves and unseen creatures. He understood utterly alone, a tiny spark struggling against in profound darkness. The crimson flower, a forgotten memory, lay crushed beneath him, a forgotten promise whispered on the wind. He realized the stress of the world pressing down, a crushing burden of sorrow and regret. The moon, a cold, indifferent eye, watched his silent despair. Unseen eyes watched him, the moon a cold judge. He stumbled, a broken marionette, his shadow a long, accusing finger. The forest floor, a tapestry of decay, mirrored the rot within. A drop of emotion, a glimmer of pain traced a path through the grime on his cheek. He was adrift, a leaf on a churning stream of sorrow. The forest floor, a tapestry woven with shadows and decay, mirrored the turmoil within him. The forest, a labyrinth of shadows, mirrored his fractured soul. He stumbled, a broken thing, his breath ragged, a whispered plea lost in the rustling leaves. A drop of emotion traced a path down his cheek. He experienced the earth tremble beneath him, not from seismic shift, but from the tremor of his own grief. Was this the end? A hollow ache resonated in his chest, a broken melody playing on ruptured strings. A chilling wind whispered secrets through the skeletal branches, each gust a mournful sigh. He realized the strain of unspoken words, a heavy cloak of sorrow. Hope, a sensitive butterfly. He realized the earth breathed beneath him, a slow, mournful sigh. The moon, a spectral eye, watched his silent struggle. A single, defiant firefly pulsed near his face, mirroring a stubborn spark within him, a stubborn ember refusing to be snuffed. The wind, a mournful dirge, whispered through the trees, carrying the scent of rain and damp earth. He knew the load of his sorrow, a physical burden. He stumbled, a broken marionette whose strings had snapped. The moon, a cold eye in the inky sky, watched his silent descent into despair. Each breath hitched, a ragged gasp against the suffocating darkness. He experienced a strange calm settle over him, a quiet acceptance. The forest, once a labyrinth of fear, now felt like a silent guardian. He wasn't broken, he was simply change. A new strength, he walked, a shade amongst whispering trees, each step a sigh escaping his lips. The moon, a cold pearl, hung heavy in the sky, its light a tender comfort in the oppressive gloom. His heart, a bruised, a heavy stone in his chest. He experienced the pull of the earth, a silent invitation to surrender. Yet, a faint light flickered within, a stubborn refusal to yield. The forest, once a prison, now felt like a comforting embrace. He wasn't defeated, he was simply transformed. The fireflies, once distant memories, now danced around him, their light a beacon in the encroaching night. He knew a whisper, a sigh escaping his lips. The moon, a cold pearl, hung heavy, its light a vulnerable comfort. He realized the earth's pull, a silent invitation. Yet, a faint inner light flickered, a stubborn resilience. He wasn't defeated, he was transformed. The fireflies, once distant memories, now danced around him, their light a beacon in the encroaching night. He knew a strange calm, a quiet understanding. He wasn't defeated, he was reborn. The fireflies, embers of lost memories, pulsed a rhythm of quiet hope. A moment of feeling traced a path down his cheek, a final release. The forest, once his prison, now felt strangely nurturing. He wasn't defeated, he was reborn. The fireflies, embers of lost memories, pulsed a rhythm of quiet hope. A moment of feeling traced a path down his cheek, a silent testament to the journey. He stood, a silhouette against the moon, a precious firefly clinging to his hand. The forest, once a suffocating darkness, now whispered secrets of resilience, a silent testament to the journey's end. He understood warmth on his face, a gentle caress after the long night. Hope, tender, yet persistent, bloomed within him like a spring wildflower pushing through the forest's heart. A path less traveled, he knew a kinship with the whispering trees. The moon, a silent confidant, watched his journey. He wasn't merely walking, he was becoming. A gentle breeze stirred the leaves, whispering secrets only he could understand. He walked, not with purpose, but with a quiet acceptance, the fireflies a shimmering constellation guiding his path. The forest floor, damp with dew, felt cool beneath his bare feet. He wasn't just walking, he was healing. Each step was a hush of forgiveness, a soft exhale of past pain. The fireflies, like tiny stars, whispered secrets of a journey almost over. He understood a strange lightness, a shedding of burdens. The forest, once a prison of shadows, now felt like a cathedral of inner power. A single he stumbled, a whispered gasp escaping his lips. The forest pressed in, a suffocating embrace of shadows and chilling mist. His reflection, distorted in a pool of stagnant water, mirrored his inner turmoil. A cold dread seeped into his bones, reflecting the icy mist clinging to the ancient trees. He understood utterly lost, a tiny spark in a vast, unforgiving darkness. The fireflies, once beacons of hope, a delicate ember against the encroaching dark. He experienced the chill seep into his bones, a stark contrast to the warmth he'd known. The fireflies, once comforting, now felt distant, their light swallowing the light. However faint, he knew a tremor of hope. The icy grip of fear loosened its hold, replaced by a vulnerable warmth. He wasn't lost, he was finding his way. A single firefly, brighter than a fallen star, illuminated his palm. He understood a shift, a subtle but undeniable change. The icy grip of despair loosened its hold. He wasn't just surviving, he was beginning to live again. A delicate promise whispered on the wind. He rose, slowly, deliberately, each movement a testament to his newfound strength. The forest, though still dark, no longer felt like a cage. It was a sanctuary. He sensed the earth give way beneath his feet, a tremor of fear jolting him awake. The forest loomed, a cathedral of shadows, its ancient trees whispering secrets only the wind understood. His reflect ion in the Still water was a ghost, barely there. He sensed the strain of unspoken words, heavy as stones in his pockets. The forest pressed in, a suffocating embrace of shadows. A cold wind whispered through the whispering trees. He stumbled, his breath catching in his throat. The fireflies, once symbols of hope, now seemed like mocking spirits, their light a cruel reminder of what he'd lost. A drop of emotion traced a path down his cheek, revealing the twisting path ahead. The moon, a pale eye in the inky sky, cast long, skeletal shadows from the gnarled trees. He experienced utterly lost, a whisper of a forgotten dream. He experienced the cold seep into his bones, a chilling reminder of his solitude. The wind howled a mournful song, a symphony of despair. His reflection, fractured and distorted, stared at his fractured reflection, a ripple of despair spreading across the still water. The cold seeped into his bones, a chilling reminder of his isolation. He experienced utterly lost, a breath of a forgotten dream. He understood the cold seep into his bones, a chilling reminder of his isolation. The wind whispered secrets only the heartbroken understood. A single, iridescent firefly landed on his palm, a murmur of a forgotten dream. He knew the cold seep into his bones, a chilling reminder of his isolation. The wind, a mournful symphony, carried secrets only the heartbroken understood. A single firefly pulsed, a tiny beacon in the vast, echoing darkness. He cradled it gently, its sensitive light mirroring a flicker of hope within him. The wind, though still mournful, now seemed less a symphony of despair, but a lullaby of acceptance. He sensed a strange calm settle over him, a quiet understanding. The firefly's light, a tiny ember against the vastness, felt like a promise. Hope, tender light, a tiny ember against the vastness, felt like a promise. Hope, vulnerable, yet persistent, bloomed in the chilling darkness. He closed his eyes, the firefly's warmth a comforting presence. In conclusion, this exploration reveals the profound complexity of human emotion and the delicate balance between confidence and vulnerability. True wisdom lies in recognizing the authenticity of our feelings, embracing our vulnerabilities, and finding strength in our journey through life. The path to genuine confidence begins with honest self-reflection and the courage to face our deepest fears. Your path to self-awareness is worth every moment of reflection. If this spoke to you, consider exploring more of these insights. The scene presents a strong metaphor for the emotional landscape we're exploring together.